Hi, I'm Dwayne. I'm from Canada, and I've lived in Korea for, well, this will be my 26th year. I came here in 1995, November. I have not had Junction in a long time. What do you think? Is that a little bit tender or what?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my days. I can't.
Completely speechless.
This is it. Right, we're done. Mukbang over. We met at the Climate Wall about 3 years ago and you said that
that's right.
You have been here for 22 years. So now it's 20, you've been here a quarter of a century.
Oh wow, when you put it that way, it sounds like a lot. This is my 26th year. I came in November of 1995, a few months after graduating university. And yeah, spent my first 10 months in Gangwon-do.
Yeah.
In a small town called Donghaeshi. I went to Gwangju and Cheoldo for a short time, came back here, and I've been here ever since. I've been to this restaurant before, about 20 years ago perhaps, but it was a fish restaurant. And outside here was all fish tanks. And it was awesome. You get these great big plates of fish. And then about 18 years I came here again to have some fish, and then it was not a fish restaurant anymore.
I love that. I moved to Korea 3.5 years ago, and I've seen it change. In 3 years, Yeonnam-dong has gone from kind of entry gentrification to hyper gentrification. Mm-hmm. I've seen places close down, reopen like 3 or 4 times in that space of time, and how Korea developed so quickly. Just how much have you experienced Korea change over 25 years?
Incredibly, amazingly, and it's why I'm not moving anywhere. So when I first came to Seoul for a visit, at the end of every day you wipe your head, it was black, and you blow your nose, it was black. It was diesel buses pumping out fumes everywhere. It was really dirty. And at that time, where Cheonggyecheon is now, there was an elevated roadway. And I remember walking in one of my early months in Seoul. It was a little bit late. And I remember seeing this place, and it was dark, and it was almost dripping grease from this thing. I said, this is like Blade Runner, because you still had the big TVs in the background, and a lot of neon at that time, which has mostly disappeared. And it was so amazing. And I liked it. It was dirty, it was messy. It was a different world.
It's a different world.
Yeah. But then, Korea gentrified, or Seoul in particular, really, really quickly. So all of that roadway is gone now. The Yeonnam-dong Park used to be a rail. In fact, it's called Gyeonggi-son. And I remember waiting for the train to go by so we could cross, the road at that point.
Wow. I mean, what did you know about Korea? I mean, before you came here, what did you know?
You know the TV show, MASH? Oh boy, not. I'm dating myself. American TV series, set in Korea, set during the war.
Wow.
So I knew kimchi, because I knew they buried it in pots to ferment it. That was on one of the episodes of MASH. So I didn't have access to Wikipedia or these other sources of information. So I went to a used bookstore. I found a National Geographic that had a story about Korea, but that was set in the 1960s. And that's about the limit of everything I knew about Korea. Right there.
Amazing. You basically came in blind, but just kind of with this.
That was part of the attraction of coming here.
Yeah.
But going into a place where you don't know anything has a certain romance to it.
Yes. We're talking about London. You've been to London a few times.
I love London.
Second best city in the world.
Yeah.
And I go, number 1?
Here.
Yeah.
Look, you're from London, it's a really cool city.
Really.
It's romantic. I love it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And Seoul is the counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the romance of Europe in general. I like the old buildings. I couldn't live there. And if you're talking about the romance, I remember I was living in Chongno, nearby Insta-dong, in the summer of 1997. And I was eating some kimchi jjigae at a little local restaurant, which is long gone now. I was sitting there and I heard a noise. There's a rat running along the pipe. You don't see that now, because everything has changed. These little tiny little places now are at least in my experience, completely gone. And my Korean hometown, which is Donghae-shi. Wow, what a great little place. And it's changed. When I was there again, people would be following me, saying, USA, hello, and then a few bad words.
We were at the climbing wall a couple of weeks ago, and we got talking about technology, and you talked about having a pager. And I found that hilarious. What were some of the acronyms? What do you call it? Like the numbers.
So we had
how did it work?
Number codes. So with the pagers, you could leave a voicemail, but the problem was you've been to Hyundai department store in Shincheon.
Yeah.
Okay, that used to be called Grace department store back in the day, and along the edge of it there was a bank of about 30 public payphones. And on a Friday night, everything had to close at 12 at that time, and there would be 20, 30 people waiting for each of those phones to check the messages on their pagers. So as a means of, well, humor, obviously, we just put in a number code. We had all these codes like 828282, pali, meant bali, like hurry up. And if you wanted to flirt or say something nice to someone, it would be 1004 chansa, which is angel, right?
Cool.
You might have noticed we have a lot of coffee shops here.
I have noticed, yeah.
So back in the 1990s, coffee as we have it today, made with the coffee beans, was a bit of a rarity. So you'd go into coffee shops and they'd all have their phone number displayed. And every table had a phone. You couldn't usually call out on that phone. You'd go to the main phone, they had a payphone. You'd dial your friend's beeper, put in the number of the coffee shop, and then your friend would call the coffee shop. And they would announce it, whoever called number 5531, whatever. And then you would say here, and then your phone would ring, you'd pick it up, and you'd meet your friends. But the coffee was just horrendous. If you got a cup, say this big, it looked weaker than tea. You could see the bottom of the cup. But then they got better and better and better and better and better. And as you said, like this neighborhood is just full of excellent coffee shops.
I want to ask you one vital question. If you could name the top 3 things over the last 25 years of living in Korea for you, what would those be?
That is a very difficult question. Korea has given me the opportunity to do so many different things. I have great friends. I've done a lot of good things. So back in the 1990s, during the IMF time, all of the teachers ran away from Korea. I stayed here, and it opened up the situation where you could get quite good jobs with very little qualification. I have an English literature degree at that time. That's all I had. But I was able to get a job at Seoul Women's University, and I'm going to say that was a highlight. And it gave me the structure and the chance to learn, to pursue teaching. And the students were great. So getting that job, getting my job later at Hanyang, and then getting it at Yonsei, where I work now, all highlights.
감사합니다.
잘 먹겠습니다. So I'm going to take a bite first.
Yeah, let's try this and then.
Yeah. A little bit on the hot side, but excellent. But I used to teach a course called Research and Presentations, and it was a series of me trying to keep the students stressed because I want them to get over stage fright, right? Stand-up comedy is what I do. But there was this one time I taught the course. It was the funniest 3 hours of my life. We couldn't stop laughing. But at the end of the semester, a couple of the other students said, yeah, that was the best time I've ever had in my life. I love teaching. I love doing all of that stuff. But that particular class, that particular week was just gold.
That was fascinating because I feel like you, 1995, came to Korea. You didn't know much about it before coming, and you kind of came as a teacher. It's given you the opportunity to study, do different things, but you've kind of come back to teaching, and it seems like you've found a real passion in that. It's something you're obviously amazing at.
One of the things that I really like is looking at younger people and watching them develop. But I get to see that in the lives of my students over time.
I'm proud of you. I'm literally like, oh, I wish you were my teacher growing up. I had a few teachers like that personally, and those are the ones that I think I wake up and I just go, wow, thank you, Mr. Horton, for not having a go at me when I ask too many questions. It's been an absolutely fascinating conversation for me. I hope it's been fun.
Oh, it's been fun, and thanks for the food. That was awesome.
What's your favourite Korean food?
That changes. It changes. So when I first came to Seoul, I had no money. I didn't have a job. I was living in a hasuk in Shincheon. So what can you get for 1,000 won that'll fill you up? There was a woman that had a cart there. Every day I would get this massive plate of tteokbokki, and that would see me through. So I got the memories.
You got the memories. Oh, that's beautiful.
When I first came to Korea, I thought naengmyeon was something from the depths of an icy hell. I thought, cold noodles, what is wrong with these people? But then it became my thing. Especially in the summer, I'd be getting the Pyongyang naengmyeon with the ice in it. At this moment, right now, at this time in history, what is my favorite Korean food? So when I get off the airplane when I'm coming back to Korea, generally the first meal I'll have is a kimchi jjigae. I mean, it's soul food, I guess, is the way to describe it. But I just like it all. Everything has memories.